Hi there, Theresa here from theresamonro.com, here with your energy for the month of June. So, interesting month that this one is, and June's always an exciting month for at least the northern hemisphere and those parts of the world that I've been in June. I haven't ever been in the southern hemisphere for this particular month when it starts to get cooler, but in the northern hemisphere, this is a month that tends to bring a lot more joy because there's a turning over a new leaf. There's a closing of chapters, basically, like you know when you think when you're younger, school is let out, now you have summer and it's starting to get a little bit warmer, which means you can start to do more fun things. So it's going to be an interesting summer, this one, between the months of June and July, of course heading into August. But what I'm seeing a pattern of the past couple of years is that they're really getting us online for what it is that we have to be doing by that fall. So it's sort of like, okay, we're going to be doing this, that, and the other. We're shifting into the new energy of the new year, and then summer there's like major transition, and then going into the latter part of interesting. They just showed me something, but showing up into the latter part of fall. It's funny how there's things that we can't always see as one of the messages that they're delivering here, because this over here in the corner wasn't anticipated to be shown while filming, so it's in a different spot of the house, but they asked me specifically to be using something with more wood in the background because there's optical illusions in the background here, and then also the wood is more grounding, which is something that tells me either it's something that's being needed or it's something that people are naturally finding that they have the ability to connect into. Now, going back into what they were talking about over the past 3 years, they're showing me as well, those of you that are air signs are going to be able to keep up with the way that I speak. Sometimes this is a little bit difficult for those that are like, you're talking about 3 different subjects at once. Imagine what the collective is that they speak with. But they're showing me things over here that either wasn't intended to be seen, or normally it's just a new window of opportunity to be able to see some things and gain clarity in things that you possibly weren't able to do before. To include areas that you maybe were more personal and you possibly didn't want to show as well. But back to the 3-year subject, and again, they're stating here, they're like, it's, air signs tend to jump around with subjects and it's all linear to them, and that's what their topic was just a second ago about air signs. Can you follow? Okay, because their mind works just completely different. The other thing is, so for the 3-year periods that they're talking about here specifically, at the end of, so usually by the summer eclipses, there was some shifting and jumbling around that by the time we were hitting fall time, it was applying the lessons and things that we had shifted into that were getting us ready for each year, because we've got this pronounced, they're saying like 8 to 12 year period of energy shifting within all of us. And as you know, like some of you have been feeling towards the end of May, there's been a tremendous amount of shamanic resonance, like huge increases. So for some people that's felt like increased pressure in the head. It's felt like headaches. It's brought on dizziness for some, irritability for certain people. Other people, it's felt completely different. Some people haven't felt it at all. But the shamanic resonance, or the Schumann resonance specifically, as they call it, and you can Google that, it'll show you what the numbers are for each day. It's been in the high, 80s. They're saying 90s, but the actual reading is showing in the 80s, and it's been pretty high, between 70 and they're stating 90 for the past like 13 days. And what that means is, because it's usually sitting around 7 or 8 as like the heartbeat of the planet, and what that means is, if you went back and watched the May energy update, they specifically spoke about how there's an awakening process that's happening. So for people that believe that they're awake, it's maybe an increase in gifts, or they, like intuitive gifts, or they're shifting in where their path is going specifically. It's funny because I'm picking up on energies on people that are around the house, and I don't always like those interruptions when I'm filming, because it's like my attention goes there versus what's coming in. So some of you may be noticing that there's some energetic distractions from your specific focus possibly not. Maybe that's just me. But if it's you too, feel free to comment below. So you've got some rays of light that are specifically assisting at this time. One is the blue ray of light. So we're connecting. Mikhail says he's very active during the new moon in Gemini in the beginning of the month, and so you can be meditating quite a bit more, surrounding yourself with the blue ray of light. Also mid-month, well, it's mostly a theme for abundance that they're mentioning, surrounding yourself with the green ray of light, which will also likely be accompanied by the gold, the white, and the violet. So if you are just focusing on one color, you may see other colors coming in. They all have different meanings, and that's specifically where my gifts come in, and my guides come in and start speaking as a collective. So I work with those colors that are called the rays of light that come from source. Also, so that one's going to be assisting with, mainly the green ray would be assisting with prosperity and financial abundance, because that is something that's coming up and being cleared for the collective currently. We also have the ruby, violet, and gold ray. Now this is a ray of light that is assisting with service. It's known for aloha. It's known for bringing in peace as well. So those are the three main rays of light. When you're working with those colors in meditation, they'll be assisting you. We also are having the first Thursday, which may move to Sunday for some people. If that's, if that's something you prefer, we can do that. But Thursdays, and you can check it out on my website, we have attunements with the masters, and that's going to be assisting for healing for the month of June and prepping us for releasing everything for May and heading into the month of June. And what it does is it brings in the different rays of light to include those three, so that you could take better opportunities in the future. And sometimes there's future astrological events that you are primed for, or they give you certain gifts that sit in your energy field that are activated during future events, so that it's an easier process for you. It's pretty sweet. They can anticipate like whether or not you're gonna come back to, a ray of light facilitator for that. So but again, they're talking about this being a time of turning over a new leaf, especially not just because it's a new moon. It's just specifically the group collective energy is turning over a new leaf. And also there's been, now Mikhail as a blue ray works with personal power, also works with, he's an angel of the blue ray. And so he specifically will work around like spiritual clearing as well. So some of you may have found yourself over the past 3 months, you're saying since March, may have seen yourself in some lighter dark scenarios. Now, more and more as you are working with your I am presence, your higher self, your, allowing yourself to be more soul-led, meaning you're trusting enough to say, okay, this is the intuition I'm receiving around, oh gosh, like I'll give you an example. Some of you may have something that happened here recently. There were a number of people that were guided to shift into scenarios or out of scenarios to make room for scenarios where they're meant to be going to. For certain people, they were guided to shift out of certain like craft markets because the energy was shifting within those markets, and you could see very much so there was a bit of a battle of frequency battle between I don't want to say quite so much light and dark, but most of you will really understand that. For people that are, if there's certain situations where people are really wanting to anchor in like old school, old earth stuff versus new earth stuff, what I'm starting to really see more and more, because it used to, and we talked about this last month, what you used to be able to do was if you were somebody of the higher frequency and you were the light worker, you would stay and the other person would go. But what I'm starting to see is that there's more and more people that are freed karmically from situations a little bit earlier than other generations of humans they're mentioning. So, okay, so what they're stating is there's certain people that are like light groups, soul groups of a higher vibration that are asked to leave, to do something different. And so as I'm filming this, it's the 30th of May, and one thing that I'm noticing, and they're laughing in the background, I'll tell you just a second, there's a lot of messages that come through at the same time. But one of the things that, oh, it's a distraction. Okay. Well, hang on just a second. Okay, so what they're specifically stating is there's somebody out here that's doing target practice. And what they're specifically mentioning is, because then there's a light being named Diana, and she's always shown with the arrows and the bows because she's got really focused intention. So what they're mentioning is, this is possibly a theme that's coming up for you, and they're not necessarily, I feel like some of you are improving your focus on where it is that you want to go. Oh, okay, that's very timely. I'm going to go ahead and close the door so that it's not so much of a energetic distraction or auditory distraction. Thank you for your patience. So I love those doors that are able to roll instead of just closing. Okay, or, like close, like in the regular form. So sorry if I've, if I've lost you, it's a little bit distracting there. Okay, so what they're stating is some people that are light workers have been removed from a situation, and like there was a market that I was at that I was selling my sprays, and I noticed sales were starting to drop about since March, and I thought I was the only one that was dealing with that. And, about 3 weeks ago, it started to be revealed that there were a number of people that were dealing with that. And so it was interesting to speak with other people, and then all like naturally lifted. They're asking me to look up the date for you guys because you may want to go back and look at this date. So go back and look at the weekend of like the 18th or 19th of May, because you may go back there and notice, oh yeah, I left a certain situation or relationship. For some people, it's feeling more like a group endeavor. And so you've got some people that are meant for the new earth that have shifted out, that are no longer holding space for areas that aren't going to ascend, is what they're stating. So if you don't know what the new earth or old earth thing is, go look up like Dolores Cannon, or you can book a session with me if you want some spiritual lessons about that sort of thing. Some people do book because they just want to hear, they want to get into the Akashic records of the history of the earth or where we're going and ascension, stuff like that. So mostly that's part of what I offer here with the energy updates. Okay, so go back and look at that weekend. Now you may have noticed as early as March about this situation, but some of you, it's just, well done, because their point is, some of you may have said, oh gosh, well there's a social aspect to this, and this may affect my finances and all of that. But what I'm here to tell you, and normally I do a card of the day every day during the week that's in the community section, but it's also done on my Instagram stories and on Patreon. But they had 4 cards pop up for this particular weekend, the first weekend of June, and it's been pretty profound about leaving situations and meeting somebody destined in terms of who's going to help you out financially. This is for a group of you that are financially minded, or have your own business and have somewhere that you're wanting to go with that. There's for those of you that left a situation that was financially related on like the 18th or 19th, possibly a week after that as well, or possibly even earlier, because there were a couple that really didn't necessarily see the writing on the wall but decided to leave in as early as April or the first week in May for that particular situation. Oh, they're laughing about something. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So anyway, you're headed into like better things, and some of you are going, but what about finances? I haven't seen that. But it takes a little bit of stress now, or stress. It does. I feel like it is a bit stressful for some to trust and know, okay, I'm receiving the guidance to go in this particular direction, even though I don't know what that looks like. I know that I can't be here. So the more and more that you are following your intuitive guidance to go where you're meant to be going, and knowing that didn't feel good anymore, regardless of that, just say, okay, that served me, and now I've graduated from that, and now I'm moving on to this over here. I don't necessarily know what this over here looks like. The more you're doing that, and I feel like you're really gaining more trust in your own intuitive guidance and where you're going, whether your intuition is practical or otherwise. I love practical intuition. It's so like underappreciated. Some of the signs of where you're going next are going to be showing up that first weekend in June. Some of you will really reap the rewards towards the end of July. Most of you are going to be seeing a real increase in as early as August. But what they're stating is, you know, over the past few years, you've really grown in your own internal guidance in terms of where it is that you're wanting to go next, and trusting, even though you may not know how or where you're going, you're like, okay, I want to experience this, and then it manifests for you, okay? Congratulations on that, because we collectively each year are making big jumps in August, okay? And we've been doing that for a couple of years. I watched. That's something where my brain is wired for patterns and things like that, and that's one of the things. So, but way to go on listening to your own inner guidance in terms of where to go. Just don't get caught up in the how so much, and if you need to know more, that's when it's a good time to hire somebody who's intuitive to be able to help you with that, you know. But there was another joke that they had, and what was that? I missed that. Maybe it'll come back around here in a second. So, but I tell you that by the end of summer, you guys are going to be in so much of a better place, particularly those that are listening to your like inner soul guidance. And I think that's an amazing thing. Something else that's coming up within the collective that they want me to mention is people are starting to have something come up around boundaries, and they're talking about energetic boundaries and what you pick up on from others and what you don't. And some of you are getting a lot stronger in your energetic boundaries, particularly since there is a huge deadline around releasing people that may have served us up until recently and may have served us to have them in our lives, or served each other. But as those people leave, which is a good thing, some of you are going, oh gosh, but what about what's next? Because there's a few of you that have had these people, you know, they play these roles perfectly. So as these people are like removing themselves from your life, it's like, okay, you're free to do something else. But there's a few of you that are going, oh man, but I kind of need that person to be able to go this direction. It's like there were a few vendors that left that were like, man, I kind of need that market. And Spirit's like, no, you don't. There's like, you don't have to worry about how the finances come in. They're going to come in. You know, you don't have to have that person that treated you badly in your life. Like, trust me, some of you are going to be coming into some really beautiful relationships before the end of the summer. And new financial rewards. It's going to be feeling better by August. And you know, part of the thing is because there's stuff coming up between September and December up into May of next year, you know, where you're needing these new players in your life for what's next. And so all of this contributes to the collective growth. Okay. Let me see. Some of you will have the travel bug. That'll be great. There's more and more people I've been hearing that are like, man, I just really want to travel. I'm definitely one of those. Some of you have had a very active dream state as well. If there's an area, this is really practical advice, but they're literally stating if there's an area, they're showing me islands for some of you. If you've been wanting to go to one of those islands, it's a good idea to take those photos and put them in places, because I guaranteed, like, you're going to end up going to visit that place. If you have those images and you look at them, you know, and they make you happy every time you see them, that's going to enter your life at some point. Like, there was a point in time where I didn't see how I was going to be able to do things like hiking at my leisure. It took a number of years to get there before, you know, I made enough shifts in my life to be able to have that. But now it's, you know, it's a beautiful situation to be able to, you know, go hiking basically whenever I want to. It's something it's like awesome. You may not be able to see it in the moment, but also what they're mentioning is some of you have held this vision for a really long time for some of the things that are coming into fruition this particular summer. But let me see what else is going on. They're talking a lot between the 10th and the 15th of August that there are certain people that you're meant to be having in your life by that time. Some of it's romantic, some of it's business, some of it's all of it. Sometimes it's friendships, because it's again, the anniversary of the harmonic convergence. You can go back and see a video that I posted about the harmonic emergence and how all of these things are related. And it was a video that I did a couple of years ago. But again, it keeps coming up every single summer in terms of the energy that they're talking about, because our I am presence, that's your soul, that's between like 12 and 55 feet above your head. That is stepping more and more into our bodies now, and that's what the true ascension is all about. And there's ways to expedite that, and ways to shift barriers to be able from having that before, which is a little bit different from your higher self. Your higher self is about an arm's reach above your head, but it's different from your I am presence. They work similarly together though. It may feel a little bit like a month of anticipation. What I'm going to say this is, with the pockets that come where you have the good energy, take advantage of it while you can. Some of you that are working really, really hard, they're mentioning it's important to remember that you take breaks as well. They want to touch base a little bit on stubbornness. And for some of you, that's obviously something that has served you really, really well. But some of you have had a difficult time with releasing. For some people, they're showing me that stubbornness really serves certain people that are wanting to learn more on their own. And people are stubborn about different things around, but they're just like, remember to be more soul-led. And there's a stubbornness around, well, I'm going to do it my way and listen to my own internal guidance versus receiving internal guidance and being stubborn around that, because that can cause a little bit more, stubbornness based on attachment is what they're mentioning. That can cause a little bit more strife than what is particularly necessary this month, okay? Because sometimes stubbornness is like going against your intuition, and that isn't something that you want to be doing, because they're showing me that just a minority of people have done that, and it slowed things down just a little bit. It doesn't necessarily feel good. I'm checking out my other notes here, and it just doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, okay, so it didn't always feel like these notes were what needed to be shared, because sometimes I just need to get them out earlier in the month than what's been practical. Okay. Some people have been feeling anxiety just below the heart chakra, in the third chakra. Mary Magdalene has been assisting tremendously with grounding the heart energy into the center of the earth. What that means is a lot of people are grounded to about their heart chakra, but have had, for a number of different reasons, some people have just had a difficult time anchoring in below that. When that happens, though, when it anchors down into your earth chakra, 12 inches below your feet, down into the center of the earth, when that happens and you're doing like heart line alignment, you're better able to manifest things. Because if you're only grounding to here, you won't be able to physically manifest certain issues, which is why it's important to keep like lower chakras clear. They're very much so needed. There's some people that talk down about those chakras, but it's just like, it's part of you. Why would you think less of something that's serving you while you're in the physical form? But sometimes that's something that people just want to spiritually, check out. But yeah, what I'm basically gonna say is this: that there's people that there's a splitting of tribes in a way, as much as people are like, yeah, but we're all one. Yes, we're all one, but you also have people that are headed in a certain direction, and then you have another group that are over here that are on a basically a higher path. So you've got some people that are light workers, and you've got some people that just say that they're light workers. So it's getting really dicey. I think it's going to be something where there's a lot more that I'd like to say about it, but I don't necessarily feel like it's a good idea to focus so much on where the you know, the trend for spirituality has become like an entertainment industry in a certain way, and it's lost a little bit of its authenticity. Like, and some people chasing, you know, certain agendas that are a little bit dangerous under a certain, you know, they think it's this, but it's really not. But people always end up coming around to the light eventually, whether it's this lifetime or another. But I just don't quite know how to word it, but there are certain people that are presenting themselves in one way that are actually another, and there's more and more people that are going, okay, I see. And there really are, there's legitimately some people, there's some older YouTubers that are watching that have been here like before spirituality became like this big thing, which, by the way, there is going to be like this, because there is a current new awakening with the Schumann resonance that's higher. There are people that are genuinely needed, that are really doing this service work, and that's going to come up a lot in June. But in like July going into August, there's going to be people from this new wave of you know, of awakening within, like people that are already awakened, and just, you know, there's different levels of it that are ready to do more work, and some of that'll be kicked up during the eclipse time in July. So some of you that are doing healing work and intuitive work, or feel called to that, or however, it's going to become a bit more active, where people are looking for more answers in certain areas. So they're like, okay, I plateaued out a bit and I'm ready to go this direction. I'll tell you this, they're also mentioning that there's certain people that are meant to be, like, they've done a lot of internal work, and it begins where they're starting to feel more, it's required that interrelationship is when they're doing more work now. Like they're applying it, and it's like, okay, well, I can get along with myself, so now I, you know, have a partner that I'm better able to, you know, to kind of work with. That's coming in for certain people as well. Yeah, so I feel like this is a bit repetitive, some of the notes that they mentioned earlier, because some of these channels come through during, you know, sometimes at 2 in the morning when I'm not able to film at those times. Or just not willing, because, you know, who wants to see somebody at 2 in the morning with their morning hair? Anyway, but they're just stating, like, don't settle for old contracts. Don't settle for, you know, things of red flags, or if you notice manipulation, or somebody has, like, if it's something that just feels heavy in the body, it's going to end. There's going to be some relationships that's the other thing they're showing. Okay, that's why they brought that up. There are certain people that have been in a relationship for a long time, and this isn't everybody, but they're just, you'll know it because you've been sensing that this is possibly coming. There's some relationships of people that have been together for quite some time that are meaning to end, and you'll sense that if it's that time. And then those are people that are going to be like, okay, I have this new period of growth I'm stepping into, I'd like assistance with that, where am I going, I'd like to heal this, that, and the other. And that's where certain levels of awakening are happening. And again, they go back to Mary Magdalene. There is a Mary Magdalene spray that I have, if that's something that you're interested in. A lot of clients notice that it grounds like that anxious feeling from the 3rd chakra down. She does a number of other things too, but with that particular spray, if you're interested, it ships worldwide. But part of what they're stating is, like, if there's a relationship that has served you for a couple of years, particularly a romantic one, and it's something that's just become detrimental, or especially the Geminis have taken, just like y'all's collective energy, have taken a really long time to move away from this individual. And this is Sun, Moon, or Rising usually for those 3. But also, like, Libras are getting ready to step into a really big relationship, and for some of them it's with Gemini energy. So, but for Libras, it's like, it's really nice to see that, not just for Libras, but knowing what their path has been over the past 4 years, it's nice to be seeing, and they're stating there's some Geminis with some Libra rising and moon stuff going on, that these people are stepping into the love of a lifetime. And yeah, it's about time for those that you know, are dealing with that. If that resonates for you, it'll feel like a calmness inside your inner body. It isn't something where if you're still like grasping for something, then that isn't something that's going to be applying for you at this time. Not meaning that you won't have it. It's just, you know, for those of you going, well, how do I know if that applies to me? You'll have this inner calm about it in your body where you're just like, yep. It could bring up some other emotions as well, but that's gonna be fun. And some of you again are having like an active dream state or an active vision state of that sort of thing, and you may have, you know, visions or dreams of these people, and they may be like wanting to approach you, or they're seeing you, or they're right next to one another, and that's feeling comfortable, but it's possibly taken them a little while to get comfortable with how they're going to reach out, or however, especially if it's something that's just been on an energetic level or been watching each other from afar. But that's okay. It's not something to criticize. It's something to say, okay, you know, it's okay. Be open and be in a loving place of, oh, okay, well, I just trust that, you know, whoever this person is, whether I know them or don't know them, that they have they're soul led enough to listen to their intuitive guidance this summer. Again, we're coming full circle to when their I am present says, here's a good idea. Why don't you do this? Because sometimes, you know, people can criticize somebody that's supposed to be coming into their life that they haven't even met yet. You know, I, you know, can totally relate to that sometimes, especially if the road seems really clear for you. But the thing is, when it's the right timing, their specific soul is going to say something to them. And, you know, most of them are going to listen. Especially because some of the Geminis are going to lose some of their stubbornness that they've been dealing with. And that stubbornness serves them to a certain degree, but with that person that has left the picture by that point, it'll be easier for them to say, okay, my schedule's opened up a little bit. I'm gonna reach out. So whatever feels right for that person, just trust they just want to mention that. Like, if you can just trust, you don't need to watch like 10,000 videos on when somebody may show up in your life. It's just I'm speaking to a certain group that's grounded enough to feel like, okay, cool, that's something that's happening. Also, for those of you that have reached your early 40s, 38 to 41, 43, possibly those particular ages, some of you are worried about whether or not you can have children, and what they want to say is there is a new soul group that is coming in. I'm not going to speak too many details because some people get so egoically attached to what kind of souls. Oh, well, I'm having this ray baby, and it's like, well, that ray baby isn't even coming into the earth now. We have this ray over here coming in. But the thing is, there's a certain soul group that is destined to enter the earth at a certain period of time. And so some of you, they've chosen you, even though it's happening a little bit later. Remember, you have this will resonate for you if it's true, but some of you have younger DNA. So, you know, being of angelic lineage and having done your work and gotten to a certain point, these younger people have still come in and decided that they want you as a parent. So some of you may be having children a little bit later. So anyway, I'm not sure. I'm filming on a new thing, so we'll see if this thing cut off at 31 and if we lost any of the sort of situations. It's interesting on the phone that I film on. It'll cut off at certain times, and then you'll lose a second or two. If I did, then definitely apologize. But again, if you want a Mary Magdalene spray, there is one that's available for you. We have Energy of the Month spray. We have attunements going on every Thursday, and yeah, I'd love it if we were able to join. But otherwise, if you know, this is where we, you know, part ways, then thank you so much. And I'm playing with different like card readings during the month because I sense that people want to connect a little bit more through the channel, and so just playing with different card readings and things like that. But also, thank you if you're still watching, you're still here at the end. Thanks for hanging out, and please share if there's somebody that you feel like this would assist with, and be sure to give it a like and a thumbs up, because where the videos are being promoted has definitely shifted a lot. And it's interesting, the more that you speak truth, sometimes they like to promote interesting areas other than where you might expect. So, sending you lots of love. I wish you a fabulous June, and we'll talk soon.